Our teacher today is Reverend Thomas DeSchutter. Thomas was just ordained this summer. And he is already the assistant minister at Unity of Vancouver Island. I mean, he's been a huge help, board member, etc. there for many years, but he's now officially a minister at Unity Vancouver Island. Thomas is a deep thinker, I've come to know from his previous talks and conversations. He's a family man, father of 2 girls, and an entrepreneur, and as many of us already know, an award-winning drummer. Thomas believes everything we want for ourselves and for our lives comes from within. We are excited to receive Thomas this morning as he shares his thoughts on paving the way to receiving. Please join me in giving a warm Unity of Vancouver welcome to Reverend Thomas DeSchutter.
Thank you, Randy. Wow. It's nice to see you all here. As Randy mentioned, in between my last time here and this time, I managed to get ordained. What you might not know is I rode my motorcycle from Vancouver Island to Unity Village in Kansas City, Missouri. My family, my wife who's here today with me, we rode over this morning on the motorcycle, which was awesome. But my wife and my children, they flew down, so they had a nice meal on an airplane and were taken care of. I think they had their feet up, relaxing. I was 9 days on the road, ran into some rain. At one point I was in temperatures of 120 degrees Fahrenheit riding my motorcycle. But I'll tell you, it was absolutely life-changing. The 9 days there and the 9 days home, I will never forget the moments I had. And it was really my pilgrimage. Like, I decided I wanted to do something for 5.5 years of schooling. If I'm going to go through that process and be ordained, I wanted to really do something that I could just feel myself. And being on a motorcycle, does anybody here that rides? Is there anyone? Yeah? Okay. So those that ride, you know you are part of the environment when you're on a motorcycle. It's not like being in a car. You're actually in it. When the temperature changes 0.5 degree, you feel it. When you suddenly run amongst pine trees, you smell them instantly. If you're all of a sudden in the ocean, around the ocean, you can smell the ocean coming around you. So it's really an intoxicating experience to be out on the road. And so it's my great pleasure to be able to have done that, but to also pull from that experience to share with all of you. And I'm so grateful to be here with you. I'm looking forward to this talk. I have some notes. I'm not sure how it's going to go. I don't know if there's anybody that speaks for a living. Do you ever really know how it's going to go? You hope for the best, you know, it kind of...
It's not that unusual when everything is beautiful. It's just another ordinary miracle today. The sky knows when it's time to snow. Don't need a teacher seed to grow. It's just another ordinary miracle today. Life is like a gift, they say. Wrap it up for you every day. Open up and find a way to give some of your own. Isn't it remarkable? like every time a raindrop falls, it's just another ordinary miracle today. Birds in winter have their fling, but always make it home by spring. It's just another ordinary miracle today. When you wake up every day, please don't throw your dreams away. Hold them closely to your heart, 'cause we're all a part of the ordinary miracle, of the ordinary miracle. Do you want to see a miracle? It seems so exceptional that things just work out after all. It's just another ordinary miracle today. Sun comes up and shines so bright and disappears again at night. It's just another ordinary miracle today.
Wow. Thank you. I have to follow that. That was beautiful. So as I mentioned, we came over this morning on the ferry. Well, I said we came over on the motorcycle, but just to be clear, we rode the bike onto a ferry. In case anybody was confused, thinking we had a special kind of motorcycle. So I was up relatively early, 5 a.m., and I took the dog for a walk. Is there any Rush fans in the house? Anybody familiar with the band Rush? My dog's name is Geddy Lee. He is a rock star dog. Anyhow, we were on the trails this morning, and it was fantastic because where we live in Nanaimo, so we don't get a lot of the light pollution that the city might have. So first thing I noticed was the moon was brilliant this morning. It was lighting the path. It was actually lighting the trails. But right beside the moon, there was a bright planet, and I was curious what that was because there was also another bright planet just a little to the east. So I got out, anybody have the Stargazer app? Yeah, I'm one of those kind of guys. So I got out my Stargazer app and pointed the phone up, and it turns out Jupiter was just off of the moon, and then, as I said, a little to the east was Venus. So as I was walking the dog this morning, I was just kind of in that space of, wow, like, look at what I get to do right now. I'm out on the trails, it's super quiet, and I'm lit by the stars and the moon and these planets. And, of course, my dog has completely oblivious to it, could care less, right? So then we're on the ferry, and the captain announces that just off of the starboard side of the ship are whales migrating north. And so ran over to the window, and there was humpback whales going past the ferry this morning, and we could see their blowholes as they were coming up for air. And again, I was just thinking to myself, like, wow, this is crazy that I get to do this and have this in my life. And then, yeah, there's more. It's unbelievable. Then this morning, I meet not one, not two, but 3 people from Transcona. Like, who here knows where Transcona is? Like 3 people, 4 with me included, right? So that's in Manitoba. It's actually a suburb of Winnipeg. So I moved out here when I was like 7 years old in 1970-something, 72, and I've never met people out here from Transcona. So to have met 3 people this morning here from Transcona was just like, what the? Maybe I should just stop now. Like, this is too good a day. And my wife got on the motorcycle this morning and came over with me. Like, that doesn't happen all the time. So it's like a blessed day already. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Here she is. This is her. So I'm gonna do exactly what you told me not to do this morning, because whenever you tell me not to do something, she's like, don't talk about me, don't make a big deal about me being here. But this is the first time that Leslie's been able to join me in speaking here at Unity of Vancouver, and I'm so excited to have her here with me this morning. So here she is. I would not have made it through becoming an ordained minister without having Leslie in my life. And I don't know if you all know this, but when I first got accepted into ministerial school, one of the things they do is they have a call with your spouse, and they actually have to sign off on your spouse going on this path, because as they said, it's not just them, it's your entire household that is going through the experience. And I'm sure my 2 daughters, and I know my wife, can attest to the fact that it's all of us that have gone through that experience together, and I'm very blessed to have had them support me. Randy touched on something this morning with our affirmations, that what we want to do is we actually want to affirm things in our life from a place of enthusiasm, right? This is zeal. And does anybody know the 12 powers of unity? Right? And it's October 1st today, so what is the power for October? Zeal. Huh? Today is the welcoming day for enthusiasm and zeal. So we actually get to celebrate the whole month from a place of enthusiasm. And I'll turn to my notes, but zeal is actually, so all the 12 powers, for those that don't know, are located somewhere in our body. The Fillmores created this idea where we have these 12 powers. We all have them, whether we're using them or not, or whether you're aware. For example, you know you have the ability to be enthusiastic about something, yes? I always thought it was funny, like, how can you not be excited when you say medulla oblongata? Like, just, no, say it right now. Medulla oblongata. It's like it immediately brings that zeal and enthusiasm into your life. So I think that was perfectly placed by the Fillmores. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about paving the way to receive. And so what I've come to learn, or what I've come to experience in my life, when I look back, and maybe this is true for you when you look back on your life, that anything you've done worthwhile in your life that you've wanted to accomplish or achieve, I'm going to bet that you had an idea that you would like to do this, and that you put some energy behind it, and then you went on to achieve that. Yes? Yes. Right. And in every instance, I'm also gonna bet that at times you probably imagined yourself fulfilling on it. Like, you could see yourself doing it. Right? Does that make sense? You know, when I think of me speaking at Unity here, or any Unity Center that I've spoken at or any other place where I've been public speaking, there was a time in my life where all I was doing was imagining myself doing that. I could see myself doing that. And so therefore, it started to become real for me. May not have been real for anybody else, but it was real for me. I could feel that within myself. I could see it within myself. And that's probably true for you. On anything you've taken on in your life, you could see yourself doing it. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't do it. So whenever we're looking to accomplish something, or whenever we're willing or wanting to do something in our lives, it usually begins with an idea, like, oh, I'd like to do this, or I could do this. Then we start to have what that might look like. Seeing ourselves being that very thing. And what's interesting about this, if we go through a lot of unity teachings or a lot of books that have been written in the world of New Thought, Science of Mind, Centers for Spiritual Living, all of this kind of information all leads to sort of the same idea, that we have the ability to think and perceive and actually state who we are and what we're doing and what we're being in the world. And any time that we want to do something, what there is to do is to tune into that, right? To actually see, oh, this is what I want for my life. And then we can begin to put the emotion into it, the enthusiasm, the excitement, the energy that we are going to be calling upon ourselves in order to do it. Is there anybody else that's going to do it for you? No. So anything that we do, it stems from us, ourselves. So we need to find that within ourselves, and then we need to actually nurture it along. Now, is there anybody here that sometimes goes into the world of, oh, I can't do that. That's too hard. Yeah. Guess what? It's okay. Just to let you know, it's perfectly normal. It's perfectly normal. But what there is to do in those moments is to notice. Anything we want to change in our lives, anything we want to take on, it begins with first noticing. If we can notice that about ourselves, we can begin to rewrite the conversation. Now, something we did off the top that Randy led us in was some I am statements, declarations of who we are going to be. When somebody asks you what you do for a living, do you say, I kind of sort of do this? You declare it, right? Oh, I'm this. Oh, this is what I do. One of the great teachings of unity and New Thought is that we can actually begin to do that before it's actually happening in our lives. That the path to that is to already declare it for yourself. I am doing this. I have a very good friend who just finished his 8th Ironman last weekend, I think, in Chattanooga. And 20 months ago, he had blood clots in his lungs and was, his wife was calling me a fair bit. And he just wasn't in good health. But he was determined to do something about that. And I know him, and I know the way he thinks. There wasn't any point where he wasn't having the conversation with himself that I am an Ironman competitor. I am this thing. Even though right now it doesn't look like it, but internally, he could see it for himself. Is there anybody familiar with Florence Scovel Shinn, the author, the writer? New Thought writer from, I guess, that The Game of Life and How to Play It. I think that was written in 29, somewhere around there, 1929. I almost have to say, wow, I just realized that. I couldn't just say like, I think that was written in like 22, because you might have thought last year, like, holy smokes, that just snuck up on me, wow. So yeah, 1929. And Florence suggests that the universe, so does anybody here that says, oh, the universe is like instead of using the word, I'm going to use it, God, that word God, does anybody run into that problem? Like, you know, I know for me growing up, there was this idea that God was this thing outside of myself and up in the sky, and people have a problem with that word, and it's caused some issues in the world, that word God. I've healed that within myself now, so I'm okay with the word God. But you could interchange God, universe, power, creator, great being, spirit, whatever you want to call it. Florence suggests that this could possibly be our subconscious mind. So in Unity, Charles Fillmore created this idea that there's three minds. There's divine mind, there's our subconscious mind, and there's our conscious mind. The subconscious mind records everything. Even the stuff that you don't think you notice, it's recording everything. It's taking in all the data. It's like the master computer writing everything down. It's in there. It sees it all. Then our conscious mind is kind of focusing on the stuff that we want to focus on. And then there's divine mind, where we get those great ideas. Right? Anybody had a great idea? Did other people think it was a great idea? Questionable at times, right? So anyhow, she suggests that this is the universe, that this is potentially that God essence within us is our subconscious mind. And so it's constantly recording. Now, you're breathing without thinking about it. Right? There's things you do without even thinking about it. It's just programmed. It's just programmed into us. And our subconscious mind works the same way. So for example, you may have things that you do, or things that stop you, or things that actually allow you to achieve things that you just do automatically, and it's your subconscious running the program. You're not even really aware that it's happening to you. Does anybody understand what I'm saying? Yeah? You're with me on that? Right. So this subconscious mind is constantly working and doing its thing, and when we sleep is when it really kicks into gear. So what she suggests is that we could actually talk to our subconscious mind. Right? That what we consciously say, what we consciously think, the words we speak, we're actually programming ourselves. So the easiest example I could ever give is, have you ever wanted to do something, or some friends have asked you to do something, and your first response was, I can't, I don't have any money? You ever had that moment? Yeah? Did you have the money? No. Did it ever show up? No, because I don't have the money, right? Like, we almost create the very environment that we end up with in the end. If we constantly said, I don't have the money, or I can't do that, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not, whatever that is, what do you think the possibility is that that's how it's going to be? Pretty high. Right? So how we speak, the words we say, what we are constantly reinforcing within ourselves actually manifests what shows up in our lives. So if I had gone to ministerial school with the idea that I am never going to make it, I don't know that I would have made it through. Instead, I had the attitude of, I'm just doing the next thing that's in front of me. That's it. I don't care how hard it is. It doesn't matter what's showing up in my life. I know that right now I have these 4 classes, and I have assignments due, and I'm just doing the next piece of business that's in front of me, and when that's done, I'll move on to the next, and then You know, it was 5.5 years, but guess what? All of a sudden it was kind of like done. Like, oh, I'm finished. Wow. So paving the way to our experience of life, or paving the way to what we want in our lives, begins, where do you think? Right. It begins right here. There's nobody else that's going to do it. So it all rests within us. Now, you could argue that you want to surround yourself with people that are allies. Does anybody have people in their lives that don't think you can do what you say you're going to do? Does that ever happen to you? Yeah, you're crazy. What are you doing? That's insane. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Right? So there's going to be those people. The key is to not pay attention to that. The key is to come back to, what is it that you want for yourself and for your life? It comes from within, and we need to nurture it for ourselves. We cannot rely on others to do it for us. And so this is where, in my book, at the book I Am Being, even when I'm not being a very good human being, there's definitely those moments, to check in and start correction. Start self-correcting myself. And again, the first piece is noticing. We have to notice. So is there anybody here that has successfully changed another person? Can you? Other than yourself? No, it's hard, right? So there's going to be times where people are going to just rub you the wrong way, right? They're going to be like, this person really kind of annoys me. And they should do this, right? Probably keep that to yourself. And bring yourself back to a space of taking care of this first, you know, I'll just take care of this. And maybe allow some grace to understand that maybe they don't know to look within. Maybe they've never heard of the idea of new thought and working on themselves first and checking in with their own thoughts. Maybe that is completely oblivious to them. They have no clue. You know, I'm grateful that Unity showed up in my life in 2018. Like, I'm blown away that I'm now a minister. It was never on my radar to do. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to go be in a church. Yeah. That was not anything I wanted to do ever, I don't think. Yet, I ended up at a Unity Center in Nanaimo. I walked in, I felt at home. I heard Reverend Patricia give a sermon, and I walked away going, I think I want to do that. I don't know why, but I think I do. And had I not, I don't know if I would be the more open person that I am today. I don't know that I would find a place to love more and appreciate more, to have been walking this morning and really taking in the fact that I get to look at the moon and Venus and Jupiter and experience whales and just bring myself down to a place of loving life and being calm and not getting rattled. But if somebody doesn't know that that's possible, I need to also find within myself the grace to allow them to be who they are. And maybe check in with myself as to why they might be frustrating me in the moment. Because I'll bet it's something within me, and it has nothing to do with them. So if we want to pave the way to our lives being what we want them to, it all begins with us. The tools are there. It's true, we might have to read something, we might have to practice something. Why do they call meditation a practice? Because it's a practice. We are practicing it. And I encourage everybody everybody, wherever you are, whether you're here now listening or whether I've yet to meet you or you've yet to hear me, to do meditation and prayer on a daily basis. It will save your life. Not that your life's in any jeopardy, but it will open up for you a life that you didn't even know was possible. Because when we tune into who we are, that's when the magic starts. That's when life begins to really take on a whole new presence. Florence said also, what we say of others will be said of us. What we wish for others, we wish for ourselves. So let's pay attention to that. And I'll save the next part for after this song. We're going to take a moment to do a song. I think I get to drum on this.
Yes.
That's always the most fun.
You guys get to sing. This is active spirituality.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all by myself. Didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. Didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling through to make it through another day, you got to let it go, let it go, let it all go. And this is what you have to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit from my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No struggle, no strife. With my faith I see a light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I
such a fun song. So I will keep my second part brief. I want to quote Eric Butterworth. Familiar with Eric Butterworth? Unity minister, writer. Faith is expectancy. You do not receive what you want. You do not receive what you pray for, not even what you say you have faith in. You will always receive what you actually expect. So when I think about that, it makes me question. When I think I want something or when I think I'm after something in my life, it really makes me question. You know, sometimes you have that little voice behind you that's like, hey, I really want to do this, and then right away there's like, yeah, not really though. You know. Or I'm going to make this happen. It's like, nah, you're really not going to make this happen. But you're trying to sell yourself on the idea, right? You know that feeling? Or is that just me? Does anybody else know that? Okay, it's not just me, right? Okay, just want to check. That's what he's talking about. It's about expecting that to actually be in your life. The scripture that makes me turn to that is Matthew 7:7. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you. You know, one of the great things about metaphysical interpretation of the Bible, and that is what we teach at Unity, is you can read scripture and then you can ask the question, how does this show up in me? That's metaphysical interpretation at its most basic root that I can give you, is to read something and then go, well, how does this show up in me? How is this in my life? And I've come to, I was raised Catholic in a household. We went to church every Sunday. I wanted nothing to do with it when I was 18 years old. I was like, I'm out of the house, I'm gone. My dad had one rule. He had two. First was to respect his wife, my mother, and the second was if you want to live in the house, you go to church on Sunday. If you don't want to go to church on Sunday, there's the door. And so at 18, I was like, there's the door. But I find myself now coming back to that and from a different place, being able to read it and be with it and go, there is great wisdom here that I could probably bring into my life. And not probably, I know for a fact that I can. Because I can see it working in my life. I can see it working on me. It's changing who I am and my thought process and my understanding of how I can show up in the world to be of service. So whatever it is we're doing, I'm going to go through a few different quotes I like. Lao Tzu says, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Rumi says, the path won't appear until you start walking. Now, I don't know about you, but I think the wisdom teachings that we can look at from that have been around for centuries, it's no different than what anybody, if you go on Instagram or Facebook and you listen to any guru of today, whether it's Tony Robbins, whoever, and I'm not disparaging them, they're only pointing out teachings that have been around for hundreds and for thousands of years, and they're just resurfacing them for us to see. Because it's the human condition. We've been struggling with the same thing for as long as I can read everything I've read. Why are we here? What does it all mean? What the heck? What the heck is this thing called life? And lastly, I'll end with, I've been reading Think Like a Rocket Scientist by Ozan Verrall. Quite an interesting idea to think like a rocket scientist. So, in the world of fear, Chris Hadfield, who was the Canadian astronaut, said, fear comes from not knowing what to expect and not feeling you have any control over what's about to happen. When you feel helpless, you're far more afraid than you would be than if you knew the facts. If you're not sure what to be alarmed about, everything is alarming. Right? So what there is to do in those moments is to stop, get small, right? Just get really small, knock out all the noise out there, get small, and just, if it helps, write down what is the situation, what's the problem right now, or what's the challenge, and work through it internally with yourself. It's kind of like you just need to slow it all down. You know, that feeling sometimes where life is lifing you? Ever had that feeling? Like it's just like, it's coming at you? You just want to slow down the pace, get small. Maybe you need to do that for a few days. It's okay. It's okay to do that. And if we have a practice of prayer and meditation every day, that becomes really easy to do. To just bring it internal, focus on your breath, what there is to do right now in this moment. What is the next best thing I could do? So in parting, I will say that this is your life. You can do your life however you want. Here's the thing. You are the expert of your life. There's nobody else that's doing you better than you do yourself. So own that. Block out the noise. Jim Rohn said, work harder on yourself than you do at your job. And that's what I take that to mean, is to work harder here, to know this so well, to know why I'm responding to something the way I am, why I love something the way I love it, why I might despise something the way I despise it. To understand this is the path to freedom, and that is how we can develop ourselves in the best way going forward. Thank you so much for having me here today. I appreciate it.